As we leave Newfoundland, bringing the observation of the 2008 seal hunt to a close, I think forward to a time when this is all over, when the skin of a baby seal has no value on the international market and the Canadian government has finally ended the seal hunt. I imagine coming back here, anonymous again, amongst the people of the east coast of Canada. I'll charter a helicopter for a few hours on a still and sunny day and fly out to sea. We'll land on a pristine ice floe, and I'll walk across to where the seals are, spellbound as always by the brilliant colors reflected around me. Fat, silvery baby seals will look up at me trustingly, their luminous eyes full of curiosity. I'll lie down on the ice and slowly move into the group, a temporary guest in their nursery. The pups will touch noses, moving quietly around me. Soon they will begin to fall asleep. For a while I'll lie there with them, knowing that peace has been restored to the ice. And then I'll apologize to the baby seals, tears streaming down my face. For all the seals I saw brutalized and killed, and did not intervene because the law prevented it. For all the suffering I bore witness to helplessly, for not being able to end it faster. But these seal pups won't know what happened here. They will live their lives as they were meant to, sleeping in their nursery, taking turns splashing in shallow pools on the ice, becoming more and more confident until they finally slip into the ocean and silently swim away. I wonder if the images of the slaughter will slowly start to fade, if time will make the suffering of these seals somehow seem more distant, but I know that will not happen. There are some things that can never and should never be forgotten, so instead I'll hope the pain of the past can serve as a lesson for the future. Words from Rebecca Aldworth, Director of Canadian Wildlife Issues for the Humane Society of the United States. She's joining me on the phone right now to talk about this Canadian seal hunt. Hello, Rebecca.
Hi there. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Of course, I really appreciate it. So you're no longer in the area in Newfoundland. You're no longer in the area of the seal hunt. When did you return?
We actually returned late last night. We sent out a helicopter with me on it to try and document more of the killing, and we hit very, very dangerous weather conditions, and were forced to return. And it was devastating to know that, of course, those weather conditions don't stop the sealers from killing the seals. But at that point, we evaluated the footage that we have, and we realized that we had documented quite a lot of the killing, and we have enough evidence, we believe, to persuade the European Parliament to implement a ban on all seal product trade, and to convince more companies to join the ongoing boycott of Canadian seafood products, and hopefully to ensure that this is the last slaughter any of us will ever have to bear witness to, and that's why we came back.
When did this hunt start, and how long do you think it'll continue to go on this year?
Well, it started on March the 28th in the southern Gulf of St. Lawrence, and it reopened on April 11th in the northern Gulf, and we've been in both regions documenting the commercial seal hunt. The front opened on April 12th, and the front is the area northeast of Newfoundland where about two-thirds of the killing happens. And we know that by regulation the commercial seal hunt can continue until May 15th. But if they have not reached their quota by that time, and I suspect they won't, it's likely that the fisheries minister will do what he's done in many previous years and extend the sealing season potentially up until the end of June. So the government of Canada will facilitate these seal hunters in killing the seals as long as it takes for them to reach their quota.
And was it your main goal to document this, to present information to the European Union? They're currently considering a bill that may totally ban all seal products.
That's correct, and that is definitely one of the main reasons why we were documenting the commercial seal hunt this year. In a pretty cynical effort to stave off that ban in the European Union, the Canadian government has been telling the world that sealers are now required to implement a three-step killing process that the Canadian government tries to say will somehow make this hunt more humane. Now, the three steps that they say are new, two of them are already required under law, and the third one could never be effectively implemented in the field. We went there to show what we knew to be the case, that sealers would not be following this three-step process, and that even in cases where they tried to, it was not stopping the suffering of the seals. And that is exactly what we found. When we went out there on March the 28th, We observed sealers killing seals, and in not one case did we see the sealers adhering to this new three-step process, and we saw numerous examples of them violating the marine mammal regulations, the few of them that actually exist to protect the seals. And that continued with our observations in the northern Gulf. Again, not one sealer following that three-step process, and so many violations of the marine mammal regulations. And it was absolutely vital that we document that to be able to show the European Union that what Canada is saying is happening out at the seal hunt is simply not going on, that this hunt is every bit as cruel as it's ever been, and that it will always be as cruel as the hunt that we filmed this year.
What is the 3 steps they said they were implementing to make it more, quote, humane? Their three-step process involves stunning the seal with either a blow to the head with a club or a hack-a-pick, or with a bullet from a rifle, then checking to ensure that the seal is unconscious through a blink reflex test or a skull palpation test, which are 2 tests that can be done to determine that the animal is temporarily unconscious. And then finally, they were requiring that seals, wherever possible, bleed out the seals by slicing their brachial arteries and allowing them to bleed out. Now, these were their 3 steps that they said would ensure a humane death. Now, there is not one reputable veterinary agency in the world that would suggest that those 3 steps, as they're described by the Canadian government, would ever ensure a humane death for a seal. But even if we were to look at these 3 steps on their own, the fact is, in Canada, in the conditions in which the sealers are operating out there, there is absolutely no way that they can effectively implement those 3 steps. So just to give you an example of one of the problems, sealers these days, because the ice floes are very broken up, are often shooting at seals from distances of up to 50 or 60 meters. So if they shoot the seal, they are required to test that seal for unconsciousness. But because the ice is so broken up, first of all, they have to maneuver their boats through it to get into a position to retrieve the seal. That can take several minutes, where an animal will be left often wounded, in agony, crying in pain and bleeding. And when the boat finally does get into position, if the ice is not strong enough to hold the sealer's weight, they will have to lean over the side of the boat with a long wooden pole with a boat hook on the end called a gaff, impale the seal through the jaw with this metal hook, and drag them across the ice and hoist them up into the air onto the boat's deck. And only at that point can they test to see if the animal is unconscious. So we have potentially conscious animals that are being stabbed with metal boat hooks, dragged across the ice, hoisted several feet into the air, and put down onto a deck. That is not a humane death by anyone's standards, and that is what we consistently document out at the commercial seal hunt. I know that other groups like the International Fund for Animal Welfare and the Sea Shepherds have documented seals being skinned alive and gutted alive. Did you manage to document any of that kind of thing?
We did, and in fact, one of the most disturbing scenes that we filmed this year was a seal that was lying next to other seals that had been clubbed, and this seal began to move its tail in a very clearly responding to pain way, and we realized that the seal had been clubbed, but it was only about a minute later when the sealer actually flipped that seal over, that we saw that the seal had been sliced open from top to bottom and had been left on the ice, still conscious, still responding to pain, with literally this poor seal's inside spilling out. It was unbelievable to see. And that's something that we document every year. I've been up there for 10 years. This is my 10th year observing the commercial seal hunt. And every year that we go up, we see animals responding to pain as they're cut open and skinned. And we're talking about